Harold Simmons is 76, and he learned to handle money at his grandmother's kitchen table in a house that had survived the Great Depression. She kept cash rolled inside a teapot on the shelf and a pantry that could feed the family for a season. Last spring, watching beef climb and his grocery bill creep higher every month, Harold went back to the habits she drilled into him as a boy. He is now spending less than he did 2 years ago, with prices rising all around him. The one habit his grandmother trusted above every other is number one on this list. Her generation didn't manage money with apps. They managed it with habits, forged in the hardest years this country ever saw. Habits so effective that a family with almost nothing never went under. Then abundance arrived and told us those habits were relics. Now, with prices climbing again, they are exactly the tools we need. Harold's grandmother's habits run through everything that follows. Number 11 turns your own pantry into a hedge against every price hike coming. Number 7 is a skill that quietly replaces cash entirely. And number 1 is the habit that carried Harold's grandmother through the worst economy in American history. These 15 habits aren't about fearing hard times. They're about being ready before they arrive. Hit that subscribe button. Let's count them down. Number 15, cook everything from scratch. During the Depression, prepackaged food was a luxury most families simply could not afford, so they made everything by hand, and it remains one of the surest ways to beat rising prices. You keep the raw staples, not the convenience versions, flour instead of the mix, dried beans instead of the can, real oats instead of the little packets. A loaf of bread costs pennies to make at home against several dollars at the store. Harold bakes his own bread now, and the smell of it takes him straight back to his grandmother's kitchen 60 years ago. She fed a whole family on scratch cooking that ran a fraction of store prices. As packaged food prices climb fastest of all, this is the habit that insulates you most. Not more work than it's worth. The same food at a fraction of the cost, no matter what the shelf price does. Number 14, keep a deep pantry as your inflation hedge. Earlier generations always kept staples on hand because they never knew when money would be tight or weather would make shopping hard. For a senior in 2026, a stocked pantry is something more powerful. It is a hedge against every price increase coming. You buy the shelf-stable basics, rice, pasta, beans, canned goods, oats, flour, at today's price before the next hike lands. Food you buy now at a lower price is food you don't buy later at a higher one. Harold keeps a pantry that could carry him for weeks, filled steadily when things go on sale. His grandmother's shelves were never empty, a habit born from years when they nearly were. With grocery inflation projected to keep climbing through the year, every staple you store now is money saved later, not hoarding. Buying tomorrow's groceries at today's price. Number 13, preserve food by canning and freezing. Depression families grew gardens and preserved the harvest by canning, pickling, and root cellaring, giving them free food year-round. You do the same in miniature. When produce is in season and cheapest, you buy or grow the surplus and can it, freeze it, or dry it for the months that same food costs triple. A flat of summer berries frozen in August feeds you in January at a quarter of the winter price. Harold cans tomatoes every fall now and freezes what he can't use fresh. His grandmother's cellar glowed with jars she'd sealed through the hot weeks of summer, and she could read a hard winter coming by how full those shelves were. With fresh produce prices swinging on weather and tariffs, preserving locks in the low price. Not old-fashioned busy work, buying food at its cheapest and eating it at its dearest. Number 12. Grow even a little of your own food. In the 1930s, backyard gardens and community plots kept families fed when grocery money vanished, and even a small one cuts a real bill today. You don't need land. A few containers on a patio or a sunny windowsill will grow the things you buy most, from a nickel packet of seeds. Tomatoes, lettuce, herbs, peppers, all for pennies against store prices that keep climbing. Harold grows tomatoes and herbs in pots on his porch now and picks them warm off the vine. His grandmother's garden was the family's grocery store, and she saved seed each fall so a single packet became a lifetime of vegetables. As produce prices stay volatile, the food you grow is the one price that never rises, not a hobby to fill an afternoon. A grocery aisle you grow yourself, immune to inflation. Number 11. Waste absolutely nothing. The single most important lesson of the Depression was that nothing had permission to be wasted. Food, clothing, tools, and containers all held value to the last. You keep the bacon grease in a tin to cook with tomorrow. You turn the bone and the vegetable ends into stock. You remake the leftover into the next day's meal. The average household throws away over $100 a month in food already bought and paid for. Harold saves every usable scrap now, the way his grandmother physically could not throw away anything with use left in it. Her hands simply would not do it. It was wired in by years when waste could mean going hungry. In a rising market, the cheapest food you'll ever eat is the food you already own and didn't throw out, not thrift for its own sake, refusing to throw money in the trash. Number 10. Repair and mend instead of replacing. Depression families patched and darned clothing until it was unwearable, then turned it into quilts and rags. Nothing was discarded that could be saved. You keep a small kit, needle and thread, glue, a screwdriver, a few washers, a loose button, a torn seam, a dripping faucet, a wobbly chair. Most repairs take 10 minutes and pennies, and they head off a much larger replacement cost later. Harold keeps a coffee can of salvaged screws and washers in the closet, the way his grandfather did, and fixes what breaks before he ever considers buying new. His grandmother lived by the plainest rule of that whole generation: use it up, wear it out, make it do or do without. As the price of everything new keeps climbing, the thing you already own and repair is the bargain. Not stubbornness, a 10-minute fix standing between you and a rising replacement price. Here is what Harold understood the moment he went back to his grandmother's habits, and it's bigger than any single one of them. She was not a victim of the Depression scraping by in fear. She was a woman who had beaten it and who never let herself forget how. She ran that household like a fortress against hard times, the deep pantry, the full cellar, the cash in the teapot, the skills in her own two hands. And she built all of it precisely so that no price hike, no bad season, no lost job could ever put her family on the street. Then the good years came, and the whole country was taught that this readiness was something to be embarrassed about, a poor person's worry in a land of plenty. But it was never worry, it was competence, and it was armor, and Harold realized it had been sitting unused in his memory the entire time.
Before we go on, I made something special for you. Guides for people like us who still believe the old ways mattered. They're the forgotten money habits our grandparents lived by, tricks that could save you thousands a year. But this knowledge is disappearing, and once it's gone for good. I've put together 2 books for you plus a free bonus. Imagine how much you could save over the next year by starting today. Scan the QR code on screen now or click the link below. I'll wait.
Waiting for exactly the kind of years we are living in now. Number 9. Barter your skills and goods. During the Depression, when cash disappeared, people simply stopped needing as much of it. A carpenter traded his skills for what his family needed, and neighbors swapped goods and labor across the fence. You do the same today. Trade what you can do or grow for what you can't, whether that is garden produce for a neighbor's help canning or a repair skill for a ride. Money that never changes hands can't be taxed, spent, or inflated away. Harold fixes small things for the widow next door and comes back with jars of what she puts up. His grandmother's whole block ran on this quiet economy of favors and trades. As every dollar buys a little less, the skill you can trade holds its value completely. Not charity and not desperation. An economy where your own two hands are the currency. Number 8. Buy in season and by the sale. Depression families bought food locally, in season, and according to the weekly sales, because that was the only way to make the money reach. You read the weekly ad first and build your meals around what's marked down. The loss leaders, the store discounts deep to get you in the door, and you buy produce when it's in season and cheapest. In 2026, with some categories rising far faster than others, this matters more than ever. You eat more of what's cheap this month and less of what's spiking. Harold shapes his whole week's menu around the sale flyer now. His grandmother cooked entirely by what the season and the sales allowed, never the other way around. Not rigid. Letting the lowest price on the shelf decide what's for supper. Number 7. Make your own entertainment. In the 1930s, families entertained themselves at home with talent shows, card games, sing-alongs, a book read aloud, and the neighbors gathered around the kitchen table. It cost nothing, and it built the bonds that carried them through. You do the same instead of paying for every evening out. Host a potluck, start a card night, use the free library for books and films, visit on the porch. As the price of every ticket, meal out, and subscription climbs, the fun you make yourself stays free. Harold hosts a weekly card game now and reads from library books that cost him nothing. His grandmother's whole social life happened around that kitchen table because that was what free looked like, not a lesser life. A full one built out of people instead of purchases. Number 6. Share and pool with neighbors. Depression communities came together to survive. They split bulk purchases, shared garden harvests, ran tool libraries, and swapped skills so no one had to own or buy everything alone. For a senior today, bulk is cheaper but spoils for one person, so you split it. Team up with a neighbor and divide the big bag of rice, the flat of eggs, the warehouse pack, and each pay less. You share the ladder, the tools, the ride. Harold and the couple down the hall split their big buys every month at the kitchen table. His grandmother's block shared everything across the fence because cooperation cost less than ownership. As prices rise, splitting the cost is the same as cutting it. Not dependence, a web of neighbors that quietly holds everyone's expenses down. Number 5. Practice mindful spending. Ask before you buy. One of the deepest lessons of the Depression was to weigh every purchase before making it. Before you spend on anything beyond a true need, you stop and ask, do I already have something that does this? Can I make it? Can I wait? Do I truly need it? Most wants don't survive the questions. Easy credit and one-click buying erased this pause, and reviving it is one of the most powerful things a person can do in a rising market. Harold gives himself 2 days on anything that isn't food or medicine, and he says most of what he almost bought he can no longer even remember wanting. His grandmother, who'd lived through the worst, never once spent in a hurry. As prices rise and every dollar counts more, the purchase you don't make is the biggest saving of all. Not deprivation, time, doing the deciding for you. Number 4. Keep a money box you pay first. The Depression generation kept cash where they could see it and control it, rolled in a teapot, tucked in a tin, hidden behind a loose brick, and they put a little in before anything else. You do the same with a money box or a separate account. The day money comes in, before a single bill, you set a small amount aside. $10, $20, the amount doesn't matter. The order does, because it has to happen first, not from whatever's left over, since there's never anything left over. Harold started a money box the spring he went back to the old ways, and it has grown into a cushion he's never had before. His grandmother's teapot on the shelf was the family's entire emergency fund, and it was never empty. With prices rising, a cushion built now is protection you'll be grateful for later. Not saving the scraps at the end, taking your share off the top first. Number 3. Know your prices so no hike sneaks past. The Depression shopper carried the price of everything in her head and could not be fooled at any counter. You keep a small notebook of the regular prices of the 15 things you buy most: milk, eggs, bread, coffee, your staples, and once you know the real numbers, 2 things happen. A fake sale is obvious at a glance, and you can see exactly which prices are actually rising and adjust before they drain you. Harold keeps his list in his wallet and checks it against the tags, and he spotted the coffee and beef increases coming before they hit his budget. His grandmother knew every price to the penny. In a year of uneven inflation, knowing your numbers is how you stay ahead of it, not obsessive. The one habit that makes every price hike and every marketing trick visible. Number 2. Want less than you could have. Beneath every habit on this list sits the hardest and most freeing one: wanting less than you're able to buy. The Depression taught an entire generation to find contentment in what they had, and a person who does not crave simply cannot be sold to, cannot be talked into the upgrade or the impulse at the end of the aisle, and cannot be pushed into debt keeping up. Harold stopped measuring himself against the ads and the catalogs and found the wanting quieted on its own. His grandmother decided long ago what enough was, and then she stopped, and she was calmer about money in the hardest years than most people are in the easy ones. As prices rise to pull more out of you, wanting less is the one defense nothing can raise the price on. Not going without. The quiet freedom of not being for sale. Number 1. Be ready before you need to be. Here is the habit Harold's grandmother trusted above every other, and it is the sum of all the rest. She never waited for hard times to arrive before preparing for them. The pantry was deep before the lean month came. The cellar was full before winter. The teapot had cash in it before the emergency. The skills were in her hands before she needed to lean on them. That was the whole genius of the Depression generation. They did not react to scarcity. They stood ready for it, so that when it came, and it always came, it could not knock them down. Harold spent last year quietly doing exactly that. Stocking the pantry, planting the garden, filling the money box, learning again to make and mend and preserve, all of it before the prices rose, not after. Everything on this list is really just one instruction. Get ready now, while you still can, at today's prices, with today's dollars. His grandmother survived the worst economy in American history, not because she was lucky, but because she was ready. And readiness is a choice anyone can still make. Prepare before you have to. That is the whole secret. None of this required a big income, a financial advisor, or a single dollar Harold didn't already hold. It required attention, the willingness to look at money plainly, without fear and without fantasy, and to act before the need arrived instead of after. The generation that beat the Great Depression understood something the modern world keeps trying to forget. Comfort is not the same as security. Convenience is not the same as freedom. The ability to buy anything the moment you want it is worthless beside the readiness to need almost nothing when the hard year comes. Harold Simmons is 76, and while prices climb around him, he is calmer about money than he has been in decades, not because he earns more, but because he prepared. His grandmother kept a full pantry, a full cellar, and a teapot of cash through the worst years this country ever saw, and everything Harold needed to weather what's coming, she taught him at her kitchen table 60 years ago. She was not the poor one. She was the ready one. And readiness, then and now, is the one thing no rising price can ever take from you.